Hi everybody, Andrew Cuneo here. Today I'm going to be going through a historic deck tech. This is a mostly red with a little bit of black Arclight Phoenix deck. In the past I've tried this as a mono red deck, but there's been a bunch of cards added to historic since the last time I worked on this deck, and I think that it's easy to splash black and there's some payoffs for it now, so that's what I'm going to try doing. So this deck is different from a blue-red Phoenix deck in that you don't have a lot of cards like Consider, Opt, Expressive Iteration. You're relying pretty heavily on Faithless Looting and this poor man's Faithless Looting, Faithless Salvaging, to get your Phoenixes to come back. But obviously Faithless Looting is the best card in an Arclight Phoenix deck, so we still got 4 of those. The fact that we're playing 8 of this kind of thing plus 4 Seasoned Pyromancers it pushes us to being more of a madness deck. So I've got 4 Blazing Rootwallas. You may have never seen this card before. I don't know where it's from, but it's just a madness 1/1 that has a weak fire breathing. So it's madness 0. Some of the best draws with this deck are just turn 1 Faithless Looting, discard 2 Blazing Rootwallas and put them right into play. Also, I've got 4 Fiery Tempers. This is a Madness Lightning Bolt. This is a card that only recently came to Arena, Alms of the Vein. It's a Madness for a black mana, drain 3 life from your opponent. So not quite as good as Fiery Temper, but still it contributes to the fact that this deck has much more of like a burn component to it than a blue-red Arclight Phoenix deck would have. This obviously is a card that it would be horrible to put in your deck planning to cast it for the 3 mana cost. But this is a deck that has a lot of ways to discard it, so that's why I'm playing it. Another new way to discard cards, I've got Collective Brutality. This is from Shadows Remastered. So it has Escalate, meaning that if you want to do more than one of the modes, you have to discard a card to be able to do them. Well, that's not the way all Escalate cards work, but that's the way this one works. So for just 2 mana, you get your choice of Duress, creature gets -2/-2, or drain 2 from your opponent. But you can discard 1 or 2 cards to get access to 1 or 2 more of those modes. So this is obviously a madness outlet in this deck. Well, just being a card that you can generate a lot of effect for only 2 mana with this card. If you're getting Duress plus kill their creature for 2 mana, and you're pitching a card, which you may want to pitch anyway, that's a pretty big deal. We've got Lightning Axes as my removal spell of choice because this is a deck that's looking to discard cards. It's a very efficient spell in Historic, I would say, if you are either hoping to get to discard cards or you're very comfortable discarding them. I've got only 1 Chandra, Torch of Defiance in my deck. This kind of fits into the general backup burn plan of the deck, and it gives the deck a little bit more reach, a little bit more removal. It's also a Planeswalker, which I'm playing with Dragon's Rage Channeler, so I do eventually want to get Delirium. This is my 1 Planeswalker. I've got instant sorceries, lands, creatures, and 1 Planeswalker, so Delirium's a little bit rough, but you do see a lot of cards every game with this deck. Normally I play with 2 Chandra, Torch of Defiances. I wanted to try 1 copy of Urabrask, just because it's a new card. I strongly suspect it's not going to be as good as Chandra, Torch of Defiance, but I wanted to give it a chance to maybe surprise me. Got an Ox of Agonas. This is obviously for longer, grindier games. It's also a card that you're just happy to discard most of the time, and once you've built up a big graveyard, you can, cash it in to refill your hand. Fits perfectly in this deck. I have 4 Shatterskull Smashings in my deck, which are in the deck primarily as lands. But they do have 1 really nice property, which if you pitch them to Seasoned Pyromancer, they count as a non-land card because the front face is non-land, so you're going to get the 1/1, which getting the 1/1s just to either gum up the ground or, chip in a little bit of damage is a big point. Like, you're looking to pick up damage wherever you can in this deck because you do have a bunch of burn to finish them off. So getting the 1/1s is a pretty big deal. Also, you can play this as a sorcery, even though this deck is not going to generate enough mana to, play a gigantic Shatterskull Smashing, but you can cast this as a 3rd spell to get back Arclight Phoenix. Rest of the mana base, I've got 18 regular lands. 12 of them, I would say, are just the good dual lands for a red-black deck in Historic. I've got one Forsaken Crossroads. This one is, it's decent. I don't know that you would have to play it, but I like this card. I think it's a pretty strong card. Only one basic mountain. There are some people that play with Field of Ruin, but you don't want to play a ton of stuff that just living in fear of Field of Ruin because it's not that popular. And as long as you have one in your deck, your opponent's not going to get you all that often with them. 2 Den of the Bugbears, a Takenuma and a Sokenzan, just to get a little bit more value from my lands. Lands that can function as creatures or spells. That's the main deck. The sideboard has some more Lightning Axes. A little bit more discard with 1 Thoughtseize and a 3rd Collective Brutality. Got another new card in Lithomantic Barrage. So this is it's an anti-white/blue hate card. I think this card's really nice because it covers such a wide variety of stuff. In the past, you could play Fry, but that didn't hit Planeswalkers. Does Fry hit Planeswalkers? Maybe I'm wrong. Fry does hit Planeswalkers, but it only hits white and blue things, which that's not that big of a deal. But it costs 2 mana, which is a pretty big deal. So basically, I'm getting a 1 mana discount to go from an instant to a sorcery, which I think it's worth it, especially in a deck with Arclight Phoenix where you're trying to get to the point where you can play 3 spells at once. Also with Urabrask, you're trying to play 3 spells at once, so then you can flip it. It might be, if you know specifically what decks you want to target, you might want to go with Fry, you might want to go with Rending Volley. Like if you really want to be able to kill Greasefang efficiently, Rending Volley is probably the best card. But bear in mind, there are 4 Lightning Axes in this deck, so you do already have a 1 mana instant that can kill Greasefang. Speaking of Greasefang, I've got 2 Soul Guide Lanterns as my graveyard hate of choice. This does count as an artifact for getting Delirium with Dragon's Rage Channeler, which is nice. This deck could theoretically be playing Leyline of the Void, but I'm of the opinion, I think that even if your deck even if you're a black deck, so you can theoretically cast the Leyline of the Void, I think Soul Guide Lantern's probably just a better card. Certainly in the Arena era formats where you don't need your graveyard hate to be online super fast. If you're playing Vintage or Legacy, where you can play against like a Dredge deck that's going to try to potentially do something crazy on turn 1, their Leyline of the Void makes sense. But in slightly slower paced games, I think Soul Guide Lantern's just a better card than Leyline of the Void. It doesn't have the annoying property that if you draw it on like turn 1, 2, or 3, you're what's supposed to be a great sideboard card, you just can't even cast in time some of the time. Also, just you can play a bunch of copies of it. You're never going to wind up getting too many of them because you can always cycle them to draw a card, or just if the game gets to a point where you don't care about hating the graveyard anymore, you can just cash it in for a card, unlike Leyline of the Void, which really only plays one way. I have 4 Brotherhood's Ends in my sideboard. This is partially just I didn't really feel that pressed for having a lot of different stuff in the sideboard. Kind of the core functionality of this deck, I think you don't want to change a lot. Also, I think Retrofitter Foundry decks are just one of the better decks in Historic, and this is a great card against them, so why not just play 4 copies of a card that's good against one of the better decks in Historic. One oddball card here, Terminal Agony. I have no idea where this card came from, but it's a Madness Terminate. So this is another one of those cards where you really shouldn't be expecting to ever play the actual casting cost on it. It's really just the Madness cost. That's why I've only got 1 copy of it, because you don't want to draw a bunch of them and then not be able to Madness them as you're casting them. And an additional Ox of Agonas. This would be against like red-black grindier decks, primarily. That's the deck. Let's see how it does in some games. Only 1 land, but I am going to play Faithless Looting on turn 1, and it's a Retrofitter Foundry deck. So I've got a Blazing Rootwalla to pitch here. I'm actually just going to pitch 2 Blazing Rootwallas. They also didn't have an Ornithopter to go with the Retrofitter Foundry. So they're not necessarily going to have the 4/4 super quickly, which is nice. What, they slow rolled the Ornithopter? Crazy. So what's the plan? I can Faithless Looting again. I don't really want to attack into a 4/4. They can just retrofitter Foundry the Ornithopter to have a 4/4 on defensive instant speed. I wanted to play that land first in case I draw Fiery Temper or Alms of the Vein. I want to be able to madness them. I think instead we're just going to pitch these two. And then I'll play this. So next turn I'm going to be Seasoned Pyromancering. I could attack and then play Lightning Axe. I think I want to get more stuff into play first. Maybe find a Madness card to pitch. Okay. Next turn, I'm definitely going to attack. Well, I shouldn't say that. Maybe I'm going to attack. It's starting to look like I've got a pretty good attack. It requires legendaries. What are they planning to do with that thing? I could instead just make a play with Chandra. Yeah, I think this is probably better. Just attack, play Lightning Axe plus Fiery Temper. Oh, they didn't even... try to make a 4/4. Weird. I think they just mistimed what they were doing. I'll save one of my Blazing Rootwallas. Oh, I won't. Oh, I will. Okay. I guess this kind of worked out for them that instead of me using the Fiery Temper to finish off the 4/4, they got to keep the 4/4? I don't know. They didn't kill my Dragon's Rage Channeler, which they could have blocked in a way where it would have died. It might have been better for them. You got this here. The backup retrofit Foundry. They can't do anything with just the construct, right? Gonna kill the construct. Do I want to draw that? It's actually not a bad draw.
Hey, over here. Stop, drop, and roll won't help you, buddy.
They can't pump the Gigantha mana into Retrofitter Foundry, thankfully. They can make a 1/1 flying Thopter for what? 6 mana? Take a 1/1 blocker.
Yep, you're going down.
Let's see if we can salvage something of this game. Don't want you. So if I play Faithless Looting, I'm gonna draw 2. Discard 2. I think that's better than the Ox. I get 1 Surveil. I'm getting 2 Phoenixes back if I hit any of my Madness spells. Oh. That'll play. Do I want Shatterskull Smashing or Faithless Looting? I think I want Shatterskull Smashing, actually. Just get face. Come on, more Phoenixes. What life are they going to go to? They're going to 10, then they're going to take 6 from Phoenixes. Actually, I might be able to burn them out with Alms of the Vein. I'll keep it. Is it possible they were actually just dead on board? Maybe. So this is the Brotherhood's End matchup, which I'm going to just be naming artifacts. Almost definitely. So I don't need to worry about taking out my small creatures potentially. I think I will take out Collective Brutalities here. Urabrask. I know I said I wanted to try you, but I got to beat the Retrofitter Foundries. Sorry. Do I want any of this other stuff? Lightning Axe probably isn't great either. For the most part, the things I'm going to be killing are all going to die to Brotherhood's End. I don't know that I need to plan to Lightning Axe the Gigantha. Guess they're probably playing in Soul Artifact. My deck's not going to be great if they manage to Ensoul like a indestructible land. I could board in Sheoldred's Edict to have an out to that. Maybe I'll do that. They forgot to play the Foundry. Your Retrofitter Foundry deck is supposed to play Retrofitter Foundry with the Ornithopter, not just Lonely Ornithopter. Surge Engine, huh? That'll play. Hopefully, I'm going to get him with a good Brotherhood's End next turn. Possibly I'm not. I guess I'm playing this thing too. Oh, they're spending their blue mana. They don't have Metallic Rebuke. I think there's going to be much sadness from the opponent. Stupid indestructible lands. So they can hearse things that I'm surveilling here. So I'm going to surveil cards I don't want to draw. Do I want to draw the Ox? I might actually. 5 mana Ox doesn't look that bad to me here. This is a little bit awkward. Don't have anything good to discard yet, so I'm gonna play a little bit slower with the Faithless Looting. This is some sort of Yorion value deck. Nice. I respect it, I suppose. Bet they didn't see this one coming. Discard a card. I don't think there's any world where I'm gonna cast all these Faithless Lootings from my hand. So I'm gonna play these two. What's the right order? I guess I don't. The one thing is if I play this, I can hit madness cards and then I don't even have to play that necessarily. I think I should shock a land into play to start. If I play this one first and I draw a Phoenix off of it, then I can discard the Phoenix, but if I play them in the other order, I can't discard a Phoenix, but it's really just if the third card from the top of my deck is a Phoenix, it's better to play this one first. But if I draw a Madness card, it's probably better to play this one. If there's a Madness card in my top 2 cards, it's better to play this one first. Well, a Fiery Temper or an Alms of the Vein. I think it's better to do this, but maybe it didn't even matter. Alright, I got a Phoenix into play. It's a lot of effort for one Phoenix. I see. How many cards do I have in my yard? 10. So we're Ox enabled. Just gonna take out the Skyclave Apparition. Get myself a 4/4. Probably about to the point where I'm going to start off with striking. I don't know what kind of stuff they're going to have in their hand. Their deck could have almost anything in it. Well, almost anything that has something that has to do with comes into play stuff on it. A Juggernaut Peddler. I love this guy. I love it when people play this against me and then I kill them with the Juggernaut. Probably thinking I'm improving your cards, just converting them into Juggernauts for you. think they upgraded my... That was the worst card in my hand, because it was just a 3-1 that would have to suicide into the Yorion. And they just turned it into a Juggernaut, which could just brawl. Is it time to just make a brawler? Alternately, I could make an Ox this turn, which is probably the more responsible thing to do. My cards, I got 12, so I'm probably not going to have to exile anything I care about. I want to leave the Arclight Phoenix down there and as many of the Faithless Lootings as possible. I guess, in theory, I should care about Delirium. But I don't think I have enough cards that that's something I can afford to care about. Slurp. Also, I discarded that Juggernaut. That's putting me on the path to Delirium already. What in the world? Oh, this card it's gonna bring back the Juggernaut Peddler. I'm gonna get a new Juggernaut. I think they're gonna take the Chandra based on their previous behavior. More Juggernauts for me. That's fine. Always wanted a Juggernaut. And this opponent, they like attacking. I don't... I think that's... Well, maybe they have another spell. Ephemerate. Okay. That's completely respectable then. I'm just going to have too many Juggernauts, too. And they're getting back... I don't know what they're getting back. I don't think they were supposed to flicker that Skyclave Apparition. Because they're turning my Blazing... They just turned my Blazing Rootwalla into a 3-3. Maybe they thought they could take out the Ox. I only have one Phoenix in my yard and the one in my hand, so I think I'm not going to play to really try to guarantee myself the Phoenixes. I think I'm just going to force them to respect this Ox of Agonas and potentially bring it back next turn. They do have this Ephemerate coming, which is a little bit annoying. So I'm just gonna, my hand's gonna be all Juggernauts. Oh, they don't have the Peddler anymore. No, never mind. No more Juggernauts for me unless they have another Peddler somehow. They're gonna have another Peddler from the hero of the Dunes coming back. My hand's gonna be triple Juggernaut. Something really went wrong in my deck construction, then I put so many Juggernauts in my historic deck. How many Phoenixes do I have down here? Just one. What are my burn spells have I used? 1 Fiery Temper, 2 Fiery Tempers, 2 Fiery Tempers, 3 Alms of the Vein. So I still have 2 Collective Brutalities in my deck and 2 Fiery Tempers. So that is 8 points of burn, exactly. They have quite a lot of creatures. Well, they're doing a trick with Skyclave Apparition now so that I won't even get the 4/4 from when they eat the Phoenix. Because the effect's going to end before it begins. Oh no, and they're gaining 2 life a turn. Ugh. I think maybe I lose now. Oh, it's 3 life? Wow. I think they're forced to take one of these Juggernauts and turn it into a new Juggernaut. Man. Oh, they didn't get the Ephemerate back because it's rebounded. Okay. That gives me something to... a little bit of hope. We can get rid of this thing. Start clearing the way for some of these Juggernauts to start coming in. So they might ephemerate the Cybus Siphoner to get the Ephemerate back. As long as they don't have another Yorion in their hand, I can compete with this level of value. I have no idea what this card is. It was some sort of a clone. Okay. I guess they're probably just going to block an Ephemerate. Nope. Juggernaut gets to trade for something. A little bit surprising. Next turn I'll be able to Ox of Agonas again. Oh, they're bringing that thing back. I see. It's not like I could choose not to attack with the Juggernaut, though. Once you start with the Juggernauts, you're just committed to attacking. I don't think I'm winning this game. Maybe I can deck them. They still have 53 cards left. That doesn't seem likely. I'm gonna get some of that stuff back ephemerating by ephemerating the Hero of the Dunes. Oh no, now they have the Extraction Specialist as well. These are all things that are bad for me. It's too much life gain. This person's enjoying their flickering tricks. All right, let's try game 2. What do I need to achieve victory in this game? Maybe another lightning axe. Maybe just more instant speed removal is what I want. They did do stuff with their graveyard. The stuff they were doing wasn't that great. I don't know. We'll try a little bit of this. I think really the key to winning this match is just have a good draw. Because their deck is kind of slow and clunky. This is my idea of a good draw. There's a lot of clicking involved in putting all these Blazing Rootwallas into play. They appear to have Fatal Push. I was actually going to pump first, just because I wanted to force them to Fatal Push so that they don't Fatal Push the Dragon's Ridge Channeler. But they didn't even want to wait. More of the Juggernaut pedaling. Oh, no, I guess that's fine. I think I'm going to play Seasoned Pyromancer next turn and discard the Juggernaut and the Alms of the Vein. Ha-ha! I didn't think about the fact that this might get me to Delirium. I think it would be nice if it got me to Delirium. Do I want more of that kind of stuff? You're going to be at 12 life. Yeah, I think that's okay. Huh? Oh. They've upgraded to an Alrund. Interesting. It's too bad I didn't choose to cast the Faithless Looting instead. I think I would have killed him that turn. Maybe not, because the Surveils might have worked out differently. I didn't pay that close of attention to what order everything came in. And I'm not even going to get to use the Phoenixes. Lame. I now know of their evil Haka-based plans. I still think I'm kind of happy with how my deck is configured, with the exception of the Urabrask. The Urabrask is just in there because if I always sideboard it out, I'll never get to see what it has to offer. Where's your buddy? You guys are supposed to show up in pairs when I draw Faithless Looting. I think it's better to lead on the Dragon's Rage Channeler, given that I don't have 2 Rootwallas. Black mana. I don't have any black cards yet. I don't really have very many black cards in my deck. Guess I took the Collective Brutalities out. I should try this card in some decks. It really is actually a pretty good card. It's not exactly making your opponent discard their best card, but turning their best card into a Juggernaut is usually a substantial downgrade. It wasn't in that one game where my hand was already all Juggernauts. That isn't always going to be the case. The Juggernaut backfired on them. It gave me Delirium. I like it. See, it's not that big of a deal to make sure that your deck can get Delirium on its own, because you know that you're going to wind up with Juggernauts in your deck. That's something to keep in mind when you're building around Dragon's Rage Channeler. Callous Blood Mage. Okay. Ooh, they went after my graveyard. I guess that makes sense. They did cut me off at Delirium. You just kill the Juggernaut Peddler? They're probably going to Yorion next turn. This way, if they decide to trade and block, which might not be a bad decision, that Urian doesn't even do anything for them. Maybe they have Fatal Push. Probably not if they're getting basic island there. Inquisitor Captain, nice. You have to cast this from your hand now, right? If you cast it. You don't have to cast it from your hand, but you do have to cast it. It used to be with this card you could just clone it over and over. Or you could just have it enter the battlefield with clone effects over and over, and it was really, really just obnoxiously good. I think we'll keep that. That can kill the Yorion. It's a good thing they didn't have Ephemerate there. I'll let him eat a 1/1 if they want with the Polymorphist. Maybe it would have been better to just deal the damage to them. I don't know. Depends on if they have a way to gain life. Versus having a sweeper. It'd be weird for them to have sweepers in their deck, though. Given that their deck is tons of cards like Skyclave Apparition. Finder of Fates is a very good card. This is my source of red mana. This is the kind of hand where if they have Thoughtseize, it's really miserable. There are some real downsides to playing these over just regular lands. The way Madness works, I can't Madness this and then play this land and then cast it. I would have put this land into play before I cast anything if it had been in my hand, but I was playing that card to dig to the land. Which is what I'm going to do again here. Maybe I should have played Collective Brutality there, actually. Just hoping to make a land drop. Alright, that works out okay-ish. Should probably play this Collective Brutality this turn. They're almost definitely playing some sort of Indomitable Creativity deck. All of their lands tap for red mana, and Fire Impulse usually gets played in Indomitable Creativity decks. Sadly, I still didn't draw a land. Yeah, they would have gone end of turn Sokenzan, untap, probably Creativity into something that would be horrific for me. I don't know what they're going to get in Historic. It might just be Atraxas. I have 2 of these, so I will play them both. So the Fiery Impulse, they're still going to cast it. It's still good for them, but I didn't really have a better thing to do with my turn. I could have gone like Faithless Looting, probably Alms of the Vein them, but this, I am fairly likely to get this Dragon's Ridge Challenger to stick in play. I think I'm just going to play Pyromancer, and I'm going to discard the Salvaging and the Faithless Looting, actually. This is maybe not the best Lightning Axe scenario. I do have 2 of them now, though. It's definitely good against a creativity deck to trade off with these tokens if I've given the option. The opponent just doesn't even want to block at all. My hand certainly isn't good enough that I should care about any of this stuff. I do need to care about Delirium, though. How many creatures do I have down here? I have a Phoenix, which I'm going to leave down here. And I'm pitching Sorcery. How many more cards do I have to click on? I need to lose at least a Faithless Looting. Yeah, I guess I'm losing the Chandra. So I can keep 1 Faithless Looting. Yikes. That wasn't good for me. Did not enjoy that one. It's good enough, evidently. I was going to end a turn, Lightning Axe a token, get that other Blazing Rootwalla in play. Right, so obviously I want Thoughtseize and Collective Brutality here. Don't think these Lightning Axes do enough. Do I want Terminal Agony? I don't think so. I don't know what they're trying to put into play. It could be okay if it's a Traxa. It could be okay if it's Sarah, whatever that Sarah is, and they don't realize they need to name Sorcery. I think Sheoldred's Edict will probably serve me better. And Urabrask, you're fired. Sorry. I'm just going to slow play my hand so that I guarantee myself the turn 3 Phoenix, and I get to cash in the Alms of the Vein. This would have been so much nicer if I'd had it on turn 1. Got evidence of some crimes over there. Crab-related crimes. I think I want to discard the Alms of the Vein there and cast it just so they can't counter the Faithless Looting and shut me off from getting the madness on that. This is a little bit risky in that if I draw Collective Brutality, I can't cast it now. It's impressive. It's impressive how good Change the Equation is in old formats. It's like not a very good card in Standard, I would say, but in Explorer and Historic, it's actually, I think, better than Ether Gust a lot of the time, which is kind of crazy. So these are clues. I think I'm still going to Thoughtseize them. They weren't able to creativity, or they weren't going to be able to creativity. Next turn, they were going to have triple red with the Goblin Shaman attacking. So I was in danger of them actually getting a creativity off. I kill them next turn with Alms of the Vein if they don't have anything to say about these flyers. Attacking with my ground creatures doesn't do anything. They would just go block, block, block. Oh, well, it would do something. It would cause all my creatures to become tapped. Which, I'm not that into that. So if I go Seasoned Pyro, I have to discard both my cards. So I'm going to have 6 attackers. I could kill this. And that is shutting them out of triple red. That's actually probably the way to go. Hopefully they don't have, like, Anger of the Gods in their deck. Although if they have Anger of the Gods, they'd be killing their own Reflection of Kiki Jiki at this point. Okay, that thing can't block anymore now. That's nice. So if I attack with everything, they're going to go block, 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 take 3. There aren't actually that many cards I can draw into that are good here. So maybe this was a mistake. That's fine. So I attack with everything. I lose a guy, I deal 3 damage. I think that's worth it. Next turn, I'm gonna, with the rebound, I'm gonna discard the Seasoned Pyro. Then I'll flash back Faithless Looting, probably. I have a Phoenix in my graveyard that's coming back, remember? Well, it's potentially going to come back. And not 100% to be able to get it to come back. I do have the first 2 spells covered, and I'm going to get to see a bunch more cards. They're not dead. There we go to 1. I could block with the Mutavault. That's going to be it for me today. Hope you enjoyed that deck. This is one of my favorite decks to play. You always have so many options for how you can play every turn, and it's reasonably powerful. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please sub to the channel. Leave a comment if you've got some sort of ideas for how I should utilize Juggernaut Peddler in a deck, because I'm eager to do that at this point. And I'll see you next time.